Now, there's been a bit of a brotherly tussle going on in the royal household. King Charles was given his controversial brother, one word to describe it, brother Prince Andrew an ultimatum. He's threatening to cut ties if he doesn't move out of his 30-room Royal Lodge in Windsor. Well, joining me now is royal commentator and broadcaster Rafe Heydel-Mankoo. Rafe, thank you very much for joining me on a very special day because, Rafe, I'm raising a toast because it is your birthday today. So happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
I'm not going to sing, so I don't hate you that much. I don't hate anyone that much to sing. But happy birthday. And
that's very kind indeed.
For coming in on your big day. Now, front page of the Sun today. The royal squatter. King tells Andy to quit Lodge.
Yes, well, you know, this unfortunate saga is being dubbed the Siege of the Royal Lodge, and it's, you know, just another reminder that Harry and William aren't the only royal brothers having a slightly strained relationship. I mean, the King loves his brother very much, the Duke of York, but certainly they've had some awkward encounters in recent years as the King's had to deal with the fallout from his brother's relationship with the criminal Jeffrey Epstein. Now, Prince Andrew lost almost all his royal titles, positions and offices, but he retained Royal Lodge, which is a vast mansion, 30 rooms, 7 bedrooms, 90-acre estate, previously the home of Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. And unfortunately, now that he's no longer a working royal, the security is being funded by the King personally to the tune of £3 million, on top of which there's also a living allowance that Prince Andrew receives from His Majesty. And the King, of course, is very keen to keep costs low and to make the monarchy value for money. And so he thinks it's much more advisable for the Duke of York, who lives there with his ex-wife, Sarah, Duchess of York, to move to Frogmore Cottage, which, of course, is now vacant following the departure of Harry and Meghan. They made some important refurbishments of the place, so it's ready to move into. And most importantly, that's actually within the Windsor estate, so there's no security bill attached to it because they already get the royal security from that. There's also a growing belief that perhaps the Prince and Princess of Wales would be better off living in Royal Lodge rather than their 4-bedroom Adelaide cottage, given the size of their family. So there are great reasons there, really, why the King wants Prince Andrew to move out.
Because, I mean, this is being billed as a sort of like a battle between the brothers. But I always got the impression that Charles was quite keen to have Andrew back in the fold. I mean, you know, he invited him to do the Sandringham Christmas walk to the church thing, which didn't necessarily go down well with a lot of other members of the royal family, not to mention the public.
The King has been very keen to make sure that his brother knows that he is welcome in the family, at least, maybe not in a public setting, but, you know, he has taken part, as you said, in the King Constantine's funeral. He led the party there. But this comes down more to actually expecting Prince Andrew to accept reality and face the facts that he's no longer a working royal. He has a much more diminished role. Justifying living in such a huge property when the bill is being footed by his brother does seem to be something which needs to be addressed. Now, legally, Prince Andrew has a lot on his side. He purchased a 75-year lease on the property. He's not there at the King's pleasure as a grace and favour apartment. He paid £1 million for it. He invested £7.5 million repairing and refurbishing the property, and he's got another 50 years left on his lease. He's been living there for 20 years, so you can see where, from his position, there is some justifiable argument, and it's legally a very strong position. However, it costs £400,000 a year to run, and the King, of course, controls the purse strings. So if His Majesty decides not to give that money to Prince Andrew, then it's not clear where he will find the money.
What is the end game here? Because if King Charles does decide to get tough with his brother and say, look, this is common sense, you need to move to the smaller property, and Andrew still refuses, what's the end game there? Well,
I think it's game over, essentially. I mean, I think you can only dig your heels in for so long, but, you know, Prince Andrew only has a very modest naval pension. He didn't get any great windfall from the estate of his mother. You know, when the sovereign dies, the estate goes almost entirely intact to the heirs and successors. So it's pretty much one of those games of chicken to see who's going to blink first, but I think ultimately the King will probably prevail.
And talking of the King, the King and the Queen have been at the Epsom Oaks and watching the racing, so it's good to see him out and about.
Yes,
Good
and of course we've got
message.
great news coming up. Of course, we have the King's birthday later this month, where His Majesty will be attending in the carriage, not on horseback, but that's going to be wonderful to see. And rumours now also that there may be a chance sighting of the Princess of Wales as well, who, if she feels up to it, may make an appearance from the usual balcony from which she watches.
That would be lovely.
Well, she had, previously she's been a participant as Colonel-in-Chief of the Irish Guards. We saw her in a wonderful green dress last time, but she may make an appearance at a window this time.
It's wonderful
occasion.
to see. Rafe Heydel-Mankoo, thank you very much.